Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be showing you how to knit this beautiful lace pattern on your Superba double bed knitting machine with Superba Knit software. To get started, you'll need the instruction manual for the Garter Lace Transfer Carriage, and if you don't have a hard copy of that, there's a wonderful copy online. I'll include a link to that at the end. So open that up, and I'm going to skip ahead to page 49. That's where we'll find the instructions on how to knit this lace. And it's going to be the red pattern in the lower right hand corner. All the information is there on how to knit it, and as well the stitch pattern that you'll need. So you can see it is going to reference a pattern number for the pressure pad type machines as well as the light scanning models, but we're not going to worry about that. We're going to be using Superba Knit for the input. And then you've got your needle bed configuration here. And then for this pattern, when we're knitting it, the instructions are having you make 3 passes of the carriage in a certain configuration, and then 1 pass of the carriage in a different configuration, the only difference there being the needle return levers, then your transfer, and then repeat those steps. And that's how we'll get this pattern. You can apply that to other patterns as well. You can see this blue one here is using exactly the same instructions, it's just a different stitch pattern. So to begin, go ahead and make sure your bed spacing is set at 5 or 4, and make sure you've got your machine set in transfer position or 1/4 pitch as we're using the Garter Lace Transfer Carriage. To begin with, we're going to cast on in regular stockinette. You can see I've done that here. Hang your weights, hang your edge claws, and then in order to knit lace, same as last time, we need to transfer all of our stitches from the back bed to the front bed. That's where the knitting will be done. So go ahead and bring forward an appropriate number of needles to transfer your stitches onto, plus the 2 extra at the leading edge and at the back. And then grab your transfer carriage, making sure both of the knobs are set to the upward position. And then run it across to bring all of those stitches onto the front of the machine, the front bed. And of course, as always, just double check to make sure that they all transferred. If they didn't, you can do it manually with the double-eyed bodkin. Once you've got everything onto the front bed, all stitches onto the front bed, make sure you take those extra 2 stitches at each end out of work, and you're ready to go. Then you'll need to set your cursors, as always when you're knitting a pattern. So go ahead and do that. You can see me here setting my cursor stops to 15 stitches outside of my work. And the left one as well. And at this point I would actually center my cursor as well, because the first thing I'm going to do in the next step is set 0 position. Pardon my head. So then we're going to head to the computer. Now I have a PDF here with all the stitch patterns that are referenced by that manual. I can put a link to this as well. And we know it was referencing pattern number 30. So that's what this looks like. It's a very simple pattern. It's drawn into the corner of 4 stitches by 4 rows. I'm sure there is a similar or exact pattern available already in Superba Knit, but I'm going to show you how to draw it using WinCrea. It's a free software available online. I will link to that as well. Go ahead and open that up. As you can see, you've got a tool menu at the top and your palette of tools over here for designing stitch patterns. So I'm just going to select File, New, and then for this one it's going to be 4 rows by 4 stitches. That was the repeat on that little PDF. It was hard to see. Then you have to zoom in order to really be able to see it. So go ahead and zoom in here, and then just draw the exact same pattern that we saw in the PDF. And I've chosen black here, your standard color. I think that's what comes up by default, but hey, let's change it to pink just for fun. There's a lot of options in this little software. It's pretty great actually. So I'm just going to go ahead and save this, and the default is it saves as a BMP file, an image file, which Superba Knit has no problems with opening. So go ahead and save that, and then close WinCrea. And then you're ready to go ahead and open up Superba Knit. So go ahead and open up Superba Knit. And then you can see I already had the pattern open, but here's where you would click to open up the pattern, the stitch pattern. Double click that. And you can see here what it looks like. Now all the manipulation for that is going to be done from within the download window. Don't forget to set 0, make sure your cursor's at 0, and set 0, then slide it off to the right. Then click download. I'm going to leave, don't forget to input your width. I'm going to leave the default option selected, so that's center, wrap, and repeat. And then I need to click double rows, because remember we're making 4 passes of the carriage each time. So we need to click double rows, and those 2 stitches will obviously double and turn into 4. Let's preview that to see what it looks like. Okay, and you can see 4 stitches, 4 rows rather, with the same selection. Looks good to me. Close that, click OK again. And then when you're ready to knit, click knit, and that will open up the actual knitting window. And again, just take a look at it, make sure that you've got the pink is what you'd be knitting. If it's reversed, you can change that so that it's not selecting the opposite needles, if you know what I mean. Just double check, we don't want the very last needle selected. Make sure your carriage is on the right. And then go ahead and click knit when you're ready to start. To set your carriages, we're going to make sure that for the first 3 passes, our needle return levers are in the up position, the 0 button is selected, and our stitch size is 1. And for the front carriage, just leave your needle return levers in neutral, your lily buttons are down, and your stitch size is your normal stockinette size, in this case 6. And there is a diagram of that in the book. When we make our 4th pass, we're going to change the needle return levers to the bottom position. That's the only thing that changes. But for the first 3, position must be up. So we've clicked knit in Superba Knit and we're ready to go. Just double check your carriage settings before you get started. Go ahead and make 1 pass, and you can see it's selecting needles on the back bed but knitting all the stitches on the front. That's what we want. For pass 4, change those levers, knit back across, and it will knit through all the stitches that were tucked. Then we need to grab our transfer carriage in that configuration. Then go ahead, run that across, and it will bring all those loops onto the front bed, just like in the other lace pattern we knit. And then repeat the process. So it's going to tuck the stitches for 3 rows, hanging loops, and then knit through them on the 4th pass. And then we transfer them over to the main, or to the front bed, I mean. It's quite simple. You can get into a good groove doing it. And because there's not a lot of changes, there's no racking or anything, it's not too hard to get going at a good speed. You can kind of zone out. It's also not too bad to rip out a row if you mistakenly don't change your needle return levers. Not that I've ever done that. It's not too bad to rip out a row. So here's a close-up of what happens when you're knitting. For those first 3 passes, it's hanging loops on the needles. And then when you change the levers, it will knit back all of those stitches to create those big holes. And this is the finished piece. This is the purl side. It's really quite lovely. You can see how this type of lace makes a larger hole than the previous piece that we had knit, so for a different look. And you can apply this method again to any number of patterns that are available in Superba Knit, or just about anything you can think of. So here's the links to all those different software packages and the manual for the Garter Lace Transfer Carriage. Thank you so much for tuning in, and if there's anything you'd like to let me know in the comments, please feel free to do so. Have a great day.